to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to recap the matchup in Week 15 between the New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins. Of course, coming into this game, the New York Giants had dropped 9 straight, which I believe tied the franchise record. Had they lost today, they would have surpassed that mark. They went up against the Miami Dolphins, one of the weaker teams in the NFL. And as bad as the New York Giants are on paper, with personnel, I mean, the Dolphins are throwing guys out there that you've never heard of. These guys are basically XFL players. The difference is they are very well coached, and they've played very hard for Flores this year. This was a team that coming into the year, everybody thought was tanking. And, they won some games down the stretch, but the Giants come up with a win 36-20. Now, before I further break down the game, the first thing I want to talk about is for the tank people, the people that are worried about Chase Young. And I'd be silly to tell you that we didn't put ourselves in a worse situation to get Chase Young winning this game. But this was a game with the 3 games remaining on the schedule that they should have won. I mean, you're playing the worst team in terms of talent in football. Them are the Bengals, and you're at home. And, not that the Giants have a lot of talent. They don't, believe me. They're not. Well, I think that I don't think that their record's as good as their talent. I'm not saying they're great. They have a lot of young, underdeveloped players, but they certainly have more talent than the Miami Dolphins. It was clearly evident on the football field. But, of course, by winning this game, now you're tied up with both the Redskins and the Dolphins. 4-3 wins. You also only have a half-game lead on the Detroit Lions. So it is completely possible, if the Giants were to win next week against the Redskins, they could drop all the way to 5 if the Dolphins were to lose along with the Detroit Lions. And both those teams probably will. I have not looked at their schedule. I will have a video breakdown of the remaining 2 weeks for all the tank people probably tomorrow, talking about the standings and what needs to happen, for everybody in this situation. But the good news is the Giants still own the tiebreaker, and they will continue to own the tiebreaker. A lot of people think that the tiebreaker is heads up. It is not. I've said that now for a few weeks. The tiebreaker, when it comes to draft position, is strength of schedule. And the Giants have the worst strength of schedule out of all the teams that are bidding for a high draft pick. And it will only get lower being the teams they have remaining on their schedule, being the Dolphins, the Redskins, and the Eagles. Eagles are barely, they're, I think, a game under 500 after they pulled out a win today. And obviously the Redskins have 3 wins just like the Giants. So the Giants will own that tiebreaker if they tie with anybody. But, obviously if they win one of their last 2 games, they could slip all the way to 5. Or they could, they'll probably be in the top 4. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Now, in terms of this game, Eli Manning may have made his last start today in a New York Giants uniform. Daniel Jones was on the practice field this week working with the second teams. So it was nice for me to get to see Eli make one more start before he potentially hangs him up. I'm sure he'll get a ceremony at the end in Week 17 or maybe at halftime or before the game, whatever it may be. But it was nice to see him get his send-off, get back to 500 for his career, and the New York Giants get a win today against the Miami Dolphins. Because quite frankly, I forgot what that felt like. And there were certainly some very encouraging things in this contest. We'll start with Eli Manning. I mean, Eli Manning, we know he's not going to be back here next year. He threw 3 picks. The first pick was horrible. Misread the coverage. The second one, I looked at it like it was like a Hail Mary. There was 5 seconds to go in the half. I didn't put too much stock into that. And then the third one, he threw a pick as well. He definitely turned the ball over way too much in this game. Made a couple of nice throws, though. He hit Darius Slayton in the corner of the end zone. He also hit Golden Tate on a nice throw. Golden Tate made an adjustment as he bobbled it at first and was able to spin out of a tackle and run it in for over 50 yards, which I think was 51. It was Tate's only catch of the day, which was a 51-yard touchdown. Made a great job on that adjustment on that throw. So, and Slayton had 2 catches for, I think it was 31 yards and a score. Has his 8th touchdown on the year. But in terms of the offense, the 2 things that were by far the most impressive things in this game for me, Saquon Barkley is back to being Saquon Barkley. You saw him, but now he still didn't have that signature 50, 60-yard run, but he had a couple of nice runs. You saw him using the stiff arm. You saw him, making adjustments at the line of scrimmage, bouncing it out to the right. He had nice cuts. Saquon Barkley is back. He had about 140 scrimmage yards. He had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground, and he had 24 carries. So it was nice to see him get a workload. And then the other thing that I thought that Shermer did smart at the end of the game was that he took him out with about 9 minutes to play, being that the game was over. The Giants had that well in command. You don't want to give him any more carries than he needs, being that he's coming off a high ankle sprain. So I thought he did a good job there. Pat called a decent game. I mean, could you really argue? The first half, the Giants got dominated in the time of possession. And quite frankly, should have been down by more than what they were. They only trailed by 3 at the half, being that I think Miami missed a field goal, and they kind of just let the Giants hang around, and then the Giants made them pay in the second half. But yeah, like I said, we trailed, I think, by 6 minutes in the time of possession going in to halftime, and then the Giants just completely flipped the script, and they were able to maintain ball possession with the running game with Saquon Barkley. So the offense played very well. In terms of the defense, like I said, Miami moved the ball, and yes, they gave up 10 points in each half, but it was a completely different story in the second half. Miami's moving the ball at will in that second half. Giants did a great job in the second half of making adjustments and making plays. Alec Ogletree with a huge hit on Fitzpatrick when he tried to take off and run. And then I think Leonard Williams actually batted the ball out. Leonard Williams, when you look at the stat sheet, not too impressive, but he continued to play pretty well. He was heavily involved in this game in the run stuffing and things of that nature. He had 3 tackles. Marcus Golden got a half a sack. Dalvin Tomlinson gets another sack. What else is new? Those are the 2 guys I seem to say I seem to mention their names every single week, but those guys really stood out to me. And Zimenez got a half a sack. To me, I think it should have been credited as a full sack. They might have split that between him and Golden. But yeah, Zimenez gets 4.5 sacks now on the year, and he continues to progress as a rookie. In terms of the secondary, of course, this is the first game without our veteran cornerback in Janoris Jenkins, being that we released him off the roster this week. So all the rookies got to play. They got, their full reps in Julian Love, obviously Corey Ballantyne in the slot. I would say out of everybody in the secondary, the one guy that I thought did not play that well, who seemed to be getting burnt pretty consistently in this contest, would be Sam Beal. I didn't think he played that well, but outside of him, they all did a really good job, in my opinion. DeAndre Baker had another really good game to build off of. He had a great game last week, and he played really good again this week. Ballantyne did get burnt in the slot for the first touchdown, and I even said that on the stream, that the Dolphins did what all the other teams are doing. They lined Devontae Parker up in the slot, and they burnt Ballantyne. But Ballantyne did make a couple of nice plays down the stretch. Overall, you got to be happy with the defense. Defense played really well, and this was just an old-school Giants football game. We pounded the rock with Barkley, 2 touchdowns, 24 carries, and yeah, he wore him down over the course of the game. When you look at the stats for the Dolphins' run offense, I think they averaged almost 5 yards a carry, but a lot of that was in garbage time. They had a couple of big 20-yard runs out of the draw play when the Giants were kind of in a prevent defense, being they were up by a lot. So defense with a really good effort, specifically in the second half. It was nice to see Eli get back to 500. It was nice to see the Giants not break the record for the longest losing streak in franchise history. And yeah, now we're tied up with all those teams. So if you're a tank person, if the Giants lose out, they will get the second pick. So they still control their own destiny in that sense. Obviously, they're not going to go out there and try to lose. This team has pride. You saw them display that today. And yeah, without Janoris Jenkins out there, I thought the young secondary played very well. Now, a lot of people in the stream were also worried about Pat Shurmur potentially getting another opportunity based off this win. And I suppose anything's possible if they go out there and win the last 2 games. Who knows? Maybe that convinces ownership to let Shurmur come back for another year. I don't think so, though. Shurmur's been so poor this year. I don't see it, but you never know. I'm not going to rule anything out, but I don't see it. I don't think this win would be the reason they bring him back. They know that fans are clearly upset with the progression of this team, with the head coach, and I expect Shurmur, even if they win these last 2 games, to be replaced at the end of the year. He's just done a really poor job, but yeah, that's my take on the game. It was nice for me to see them get a win. I'm sick and tired of losing, and we'll see where we end up in the draft position. We got 2 weeks left, and I'll break that all down for you guys tomorrow. But thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for being the best subscribers on YouTube. And if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.